Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm your host.
And I'm your expert, here to break things down.
Our mission here is pretty simple. We sift through stacks of fascinating sources, articles, research, you name it. Then we extract the most potent nuggets of knowledge and insight. We want to make sure you walk away feeling genuinely well-informed without ever feeling buried under, information overload.
And we do it by cutting through the noise, right?
Right.
Finding those surprising facts and connecting the dots in a way that hopefully truly sticks with you.
Exactly. And today we're diving into a challenge that many of you, perhaps even you listening right now, have intimately experienced. It's that persistent struggle to truly understand native English speakers in real-world situations, even after years of formal study.
Yeah.
You've aced the grammar, maybe you passed the exams, but then a movie or just a casual conversation, it turns into a wall of sound. That deep, nagging frustration, it's incredibly common. And today, we're not just going to validate that feeling. We're diving into the surprising, often overlooked reasons behind it. And maybe more importantly, unlocking a truly powerful and, dare I say, fun tool that can absolutely break down that wall.
Yeah, and our core insights for this deep dive come from a particularly insightful piece called Unlocking Native English Comprehension Through Podcasts. It's packed with practical steps and some fascinating perspectives that we're going to unpack for you.
So by the end of this deep dive, you'll be equipped with not just concrete insights into why this happens, but also actionable steps to bridge that frustrating gap between textbook English and the dynamic, sometimes messy reality of native conversation.
Exactly.
So let's start there. Let's really explore this common frustration. Okay, picture this. You put in the hours, right? Diligently memorize grammar rules, expand your vocabulary, maybe even aced a B1 or B2 English exam. You feel pretty confident in your ability to read, write, maybe even converse in a structured environment. Then you queue up your favorite English language movie, or perhaps you find yourself chatting casually with a native speaker and suddenly, boom.
It hits you.
It's like they're speaking a completely different language.
Yeah.
You recognize the words, you know their definitions, but they just don't quite click together. Why is it so incredibly hard to understand native speakers, even after all that dedicated education?
That's a totally valid question, and it's an incredibly common experience. If you felt that frustration, just know that you're absolutely not alone. It's really not a reflection of your intelligence or, your study habits.
Right.
It's a normal hurdle in language learning, particularly when you're transitioning from that controlled classroom setting to the unpredictable organic flow of real-world speech. There are very specific, actually fascinating reasons why native speech can feel so difficult to grasp, even for pretty advanced learners.
Okay, let's break those down.
Well, first, there's just the sheer speed. Native speakers, in casual conversation, often talk at a pace that can feel incredibly fast.
Yeah, really fast.
Especially when you compare it to the measured, maybe more enunciated speech you might hear from a language teacher. Your brain just doesn't have the same amount of time to process each word individually, to consciously translate it or piece it together.
It's like information overload for the ears.
It really is. It's like
Yeah.
a rapid-fire auditory assault, and it requires a different kind of mental agility.
It's like trying to catch every single raindrop in a downpour instead of just recognizing that it's raining, right? That kind of feeling.
Precisely. That's a great way to put it. And adding to that challenge is something linguists call connected speech.
Connected speech.
Okay. This is where words don't exist in isolation. They merge and blend together, and their sounds often change pretty dramatically in the process. Think about a simple phrase like, "What are you doing?" In real fast speech, that often transforms into something more like, "What you doing?"
Oh yeah, definitely. Or did you becomes did ya.
Exactly, did ya. So if you're expecting each word to be perfectly articulated, separated by these distinct pauses, connected speech can be this huge, almost invisible barrier. It's why many learners feel like native speakers are maybe mumbling, when in reality they're just speaking naturally, the way we all do in our native language.
Yeah.
I remember learning Spanish, and for the longest time, I genuinely thought "don't know" was one single foreign word because it almost always sounds like "do know" when spoken quickly.
Aha. Yeah.
It's a very similar phenomenon in English that can consistently trip up even really diligent learners.
That makes perfect sense. So we're taught the individual notes maybe, but not the seamless melody of how they actually string together. What else makes it such a hurdle?
Well, beyond speed and connected speech, native speakers frequently use informal language. Things like contractions, slang, idiomatic expressions that you simply won't find in most formal textbooks.
Right, the stuff they don't teach you in class.
Exactly. Textbooks teach you the formal, correct way to construct sentences and express ideas, which is, of course, essential. But real life, it's full of nuances, casual phrases, cultural references that aren't always intuitive or directly translatable. You might learn it's raining heavily, but then you hear someone say it's raining cats and dogs.
Yeah, totally different vibe.
Or you learn I'm tired, but you hear I'm beat or I'm wiped. This gap between the formal and the informal can create some pretty significant comprehension issues.
I can see that.
And then finally, unlike that structured classroom environment where teachers often articulate words very clearly and deliberately for learners.
Yeah, nice and slow sometimes.
Right. Native speakers in everyday conversation, well, they don't always speak with that same crystal clear pronunciation. There's a lot of natural mumbling, reduced sounds, variations in accent and intonation that just make it challenging. It's like trying to understand a new song in a different language. Your brain isn't yet accustomed to the real sound, the rhythm, the natural flow of it all. You might know the individual notes on the sheet music, but you haven't internalized the melody as it's truly played by a live band, with all its improvisations and nuances. Your brain needs to tune itself to that live concert experience.
That's a fantastic analogy. Our brains are stuck on sheet music when the real world is playing this dynamic live concert. Okay, so if these are the common pitfalls that make native English so tricky, what's the most effective strategy? How do we get our ears accustomed to that real-world melody of English?
Right, and that's precisely where our source material points to the incredible, maybe often underestimated, power of podcasts.
Podcasts, okay.
They can act as your personal listening gym, like a controlled immersion environment that directly addresses all those challenges we just discussed. They offer this unique set of benefits that really prepare you for the unpredictable flow of real-world English.
A listening gym. I like that.
Yeah. So the first major benefit, and you could argue it's the most crucial, is that you get to hear real English. English in its natural habitat. Textbooks, while absolutely essential for grammar and foundational vocabulary, they simply don't teach you how people actually speak in everyday life. They present language in a sanitized, almost clinical way.
Very clean.
Very clean. Podcasts, on the other hand, they throw you right into the authentic, often kind of messy stream of everyday speech. You hear genuine conversations, real stories, natural pronunciation, not some slowed down, perfectly articulated version.
And that messiness is actually good for learning.
It's not just good, it's essential.
Yeah.
This isn't a bug, it's a feature. Your brain needs to learn to navigate the natural pauses, the filler words like, or like, the slight hesitations, maybe even overlaps in conversation, because these are all integral parts of real-world communication. It's the closest experience you can probably get to being immersed in an English-speaking country without actually having to travel there. For instance, in a classroom, you might diligently learn the very proper, I am going to the store.
Right. Yes. Very proper.
But in a podcast, you'll consistently hear the much more common, I'm going to go to the store, or maybe even, I'm heading to the store. That difference might seem small, but learning to recognize these natural contractions and reductions is absolutely crucial for real-world understanding.
So it's about conditioning your ear to the actual sound, not just the theoretical sound from a book.
Exactly right. And that leads us directly to the second benefit. You literally train your ears.
The gym part.
The gym part. Listening to podcasts regularly is like building comprehension muscles. Just like you wouldn't expect to run a marathon on your first day at the gym, right?
Definitely not.
You won't understand everything initially, and that's perfectly okay. Well, it's going to be challenging at first. But the more you consistently expose yourself to natural speech, the stronger those listening muscles become. Over time, your brain starts to recognize not just individual words, but patterns of sounds, different accents, variations in intonation. It even starts picking up on idiomatic expressions almost without conscious effort.
Interesting.
Think about how kids learn their first language. They listen for years, just absorbing the sounds and rhythms long before they even begin to speak coherently.
True.
Podcasts can kind of guide adult learners through a similar, more natural acquisition process, building that foundational, intuitive understanding of spoken English. It's about developing an ear for the language, not just a mind for its rules.
That's a really powerful parallel to childhood language acquisition. It makes the process feel less like this rigid study task and more like, well, natural development.
Yeah.
Okay, what about vocabulary? I know a lot of learners struggle with just memorizing lists of words.
Oh, absolutely. And you hit on a key point there. Third, podcasts are fantastic for learning vocabulary and context. This moves light years beyond rote memorization, which often feels dry, isolated, and let's be honest, it's quickly forgotten.
So true.
When you hear new words or phrases used in a natural conversation, you grasp not just the dictionary definition, but also how to use them, the specific situations they apply to, maybe even the emotional tone associated with them. For example, instead of just memorizing the word frustrated, you might hear a speaker tell a story and say, "Ugh, I was really frustrated when I missed the bus this morning because it made me late for my meeting."
Okay, I see.
Suddenly you understand the feeling, the specific trigger for that emotion, the nuance of that situation. In a way, a definition alone simply cannot convey. You're building this network of meaning around the word, not just storing a single isolated fact.
That's invaluable. Context is everything. And the last point you mentioned, flexibility and fun, that seems crucial for sustaining any learning habit, right?
It truly is. And this is where podcasts really shine as a learning tool.
Right.
You don't need to sit at a desk with a textbook or be tied to a specific class schedule. The convenience is just unparalleled.
Yeah, you can listen anywhere.
Anytime, anywhere. While you're walking the dog, cooking dinner, driving to work, doing laundry, even just relaxing before bed. They fit pretty seamlessly into your daily life. Plus, and this is the fun part, you get to choose topics that genuinely interest you.
That's huge.
Whether it's movies, true crime, science, culture, motivational talks, or even English learning tips themselves. This personalization makes the learning process enjoyable, keeps you consistently engaged. It transforms a potential chore into something that's actually a rewarding, integrated habit.
Makes sense. If you enjoy what you're listening to, you're far more likely to stick with it.
Absolutely, you look forward to it.
Yeah, that's a really powerful set of benefits right there. It really shows how podcasts aren't just entertainment, but a highly effective, deeply practical learning tool. So, okay, what does this all mean for you, the listener? How can you actually put these insights into practice and make your podcast listening truly effective? Move beyond just, passive listening.
Great question. It's really about being strategic and intentional with your listening, even if it's just for a few minutes a day. Here are some concrete tips you can start applying immediately to really maximize your learning.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, and this is really crucial for consistency, don't overwhelm yourself. Start with short episodes, especially when you're just building up your listening stamina.
How short is short?
5 to 10 minutes is absolutely perfect. It's manageable, it's less intimidating, and it allows you to be consistent without feeling like it's this huge time commitment. You can even break longer episodes into smaller chunks if that helps. The main goal is regular, digestible exposure, not trying to run a single exhausting marathon session.
That takes a lot of pressure off, yeah. Knowing you don't have to commit to an hour-long episode right away.
Absolutely. Second, make use of the resources available to you. If a podcast offers subtitles or transcripts, and actually many do these days use them,
Oh, good tip.
it's a fantastic way to bridge that gap between what you hear and what you read. You can follow along, look up words you don't understand, and really reinforce your comprehension. It's kind of like having training wheels on your bike until you're ready to pedal on your own. It helps your brain connect the spoken word to its written form. Don't feel like it's cheating. It's a powerful learning aid.
Good point. Training wheels, not cheating. I like that.
Third, don't be afraid to hit that rewind button. Seriously, if you hear a difficult section, maybe a phrase that just doesn't click, or even a single word you want to cement in your mind, repeat it.
Just loop it.
Loop it. Listen to it multiple times until you start to grasp it, or maybe until you can mimic the pronunciation. This active engagement helps your brain make those crucial connections and build your auditory memory. Don't just let the words wash over you if you're really aiming for better comprehension.
Right. Be active. And on that note of active engagement, how do we prevent it from becoming too passive? Is there a way to make sure we're truly absorbing, not just letting the sound play in the background while we do dishes?
That's an important distinction to make.
Yeah.
So fourth, try to cultivate truly active listening. Don't just let the words wash over you while you're multitasking, especially maybe early on in your listening journey. Try to engage with the material. Perhaps keep a small notebook handy, or even just a digital note open on your phone, and try to jot down a few new words or expressions you hear. You don't need to write down every single thing. Just focus on maybe 2 or 3 new terms or a phrase that particularly resonated or confused you. This small act of recording reinforces your learning, makes you more attentive to new vocabulary, and creates a tangible record of your progress.
And you can review it later.
Exactly. You could even try to just summarize the main points of an episode to yourself afterward, just a quick mental recap.
Okay, that makes sense.
And finally, and this is perhaps the most important tip of all, cultivate patience. Seriously, don't worry. Please don't worry if you don't understand 100% of what you hear at first, or even 50%.
That's hard, though.
It is hard. But the goal isn't immediate perfection. It's consistent exposure and allowing your brain the time it needs to adapt to the new sounds, rhythms, and vocabulary. Your brain is actively rewiring itself to decode these new phonetic patterns and rapid speech. And like any new workout, it takes consistent effort and, a grace period for adaptation. Just listen, try to enjoy the content, and trust that your brain is doing the work in the background, making those connections over time. Progress will probably feel gradual, then suddenly you'll realize how much more you actually understand.
That's incredibly practical and honestly quite reassuring advice. The idea of starting small, using transcripts, hitting rewind, active noting, and just being patient, it really takes the pressure off and makes it feel achievable.
Good.
So to bring it all back home, the core takeaway from this deep dive seems crystal clear. Making podcasts a regular, consistent part of your routine is probably the most effective key to confidently understanding native English speakers in the real world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And hey, you're already doing it right now. By listening to this deep dive, you're actively engaging with spoken English, and that's a huge step forward on your journey. So well done.
Yeah, absolutely. And this raises an important question, though. How do we actually embed this consistency into our daily lives? Because remember, truly big results, especially in complex areas like language acquisition, they come from those small, consistent steps, not infrequent grand gestures.
Right.
It's the daily repetition, that little bit every day, that truly builds fluency over time.
Exactly. Small steps add up. And if you're looking for an excellent real-world example of the type of resource we've been discussing today, a podcast specifically designed to help you improve your English comprehension. Our source material for this deep dive highlighted Learn English with Designer JK. They offer videos and podcasts specifically crafted to help you grow your English in fun, simple, and incredibly effective ways, just like we've been exploring today. It's really a fantastic demonstration of how to put these insights into practice.
It really is a great resource aligned with these principles.
So if you want to take the next step on your learning journey, we wholeheartedly encourage you to check out Learn English with Designer JK on YouTube.
Right.
Seriously, go look them up. You'll find a wealth of content there that aligns perfectly with everything we've talked about today. From authentic conversations to clear explanations, go subscribe to their channel and start building those listening muscles.
Great recommendation.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.